First up in our time-efficient training series are supersets. Supersets are basically 2 exercises performed back-to-back with minimal rest between them. You fully rest once the second exercise is completed. That's 1 set of each. Then you start with exercise 1 again. You also get trisets or giant sets, but let's stick to supersets for now. The idea is that you save time by skipping rest. Take 2 exercises performed with normal rests in between. You'd complete 1 set, maybe 20 to 30 seconds in length, then rest 1 minute 30 seconds, then go again. Your sets may get slower as you go due to fatigue. Your rest may be a tad longer. Once you've done your sets, you then move on to the next exercise, repeating that cycle again. With appropriate rest, 3 sets may take you around 6 minutes. 4 minutes and 30 seconds of those are rest. You could cut the rest time down, but that might limit performance, therefore giving you less muscle gains as a result.
What if you filled that rest gap with another exercise that didn't negatively affect the first one? That way, you would save whatever time you'd normally spend resting if you did both exercises in a traditional manner. In a strange way, it may even help with the performance of the first exercise in the superset, as you would actually get more rest before you do it again, as you're not only getting the rest in between the sets, but the time it takes to perform the other exercise on top before you have to complete the first exercise again. Important to note here, what makes supersets work is that you get local muscle recovery, which is different to cardiorespiratory recovery. You might be out of breath after finishing a set of leg extensions, but your glutes aren't fatigued. They can easily do more work once you get some of your breath back, of course.
There are some key considerations for supersets. Same muscle group supersets, agonist to agonist, may be less effective. So for example, doing 2 chest movements back to back. These movements would likely both suffer from the fatigue in the other one. If you did both movements separately, at other times in your training program, you'd likely lift more load for more reps. So pairing the same muscle group supersets together is a poor idea unless it's the only way you can get more volume in. This is very nuanced though, so we are going to leave this one here for now.
Instead, you should pair opposite muscles, known as agonist-antagonists, or 2 unrelated main muscles, which would be known as agonist-peripheral supersets. If you're less aerobically fit, supersets can be a challenge. They are more cardiovascularly challenging. An example of an agonist-antagonist superset of opposing muscle groups would be working your biceps and then working your triceps afterwards. These are muscles which work in pairs. One contracts while the other one relaxes. An example of an agonist peripheral superset for 2 unrelated muscles would be doing something like a leg extension followed by a lateral raise. Upper and lower supersets could work here, or it could be 2 muscles in the upper or lower body that aren't connected. You have to be mindful of the fatigue generated by the movements you are pairing. For example, 2 big movements back to back like squats and Romanian deadlifts might not be very wise, as the general fatigue caused by a heavy set of squats will likely limit the Romanian deadlifts. Also consider that some muscles may cross over between exercises anyway. So using our squat example here, the glutes are involved in both movements, the squat and the Romanian deadlift. If the glutes fatigue first, this could limit our proximity to failure. So we're not getting as much out of either the squats or the Romanian deadlifts for the target muscle groups in these exercises.
So how do you pick exercises to pair together for a superset? For opposing muscles, so agonist and antagonist muscles, for them to be paired together, these often work very well with isolation type exercises, which focus on one primary muscle group with no clear secondary. For example, a bicep curl and a tricep extension, or a leg extension and a hamstring curl. For 2 main muscle groups that are unrelated, so the agonist and peripheral superset that Sean was referring to earlier, such as the quads and the shoulders, using 2 big movements here may not pair well together, as they both are generally very fatiguing. But a big and small muscle group movement, like a leg press and a lateral raise, could be a great pairing. Practicality is also a huge factor. Your gym layout and equipment availability also plays a part on which exercises you can pair together. This is why taking free weights over to the side of machines can work better than trying to use 2 machines at the same time. Or doing 2 exercises on cables back to back are better than a cable on a machine, for example. Someone will nab one of them whilst you are using the other one. You can absolutely guarantee that. So clever pairing is crucial.
So now we're going to look at how to actually perform these supersets. Once you've selected your exercises, get all the equipment set up first. Last thing you need to be doing is running around in between one exercise and the other, trying to find where you left your dumbbells. Perform exercise 1 until you reach close proximity to failure. Then you switch to exercise 2. Important note though, in studies on supersets, the participants are forced not to have rest between them. But in your training, some rest is absolutely fine. It still saves you time if you're doing a superset, even if you have a small rest in between. It may even improve your per set performance and drive more stimulus as a result, because you're not as fatigued in terms of cardiovascular fatigue, and you can drive more stimulus for muscle growth by reaching a closer proximity to failure without feeling like your cardiovascular system gives out first. What we recommend is recording the weight, the reps, and your reps in reserve for exercise 1 before you begin exercise 2. This is a forced mini rest, and you'll probably forget what weights and what reps you did afterwards. After you've done that, you begin exercise 2, and as long as you rest less than if you did the 2 exercises alone, you're still saving time. Complete exercise 2, update the training log, rest the full time between both exercises, and then you begin set 2 of your superset from exercise 1 again. Now, fatigue can differ between exercises, so you should auto-regulate your rest between the 2 exercises. So say, for example, you're very out of breath after performing exercise 1, don't be afraid to take a few extra seconds rest before you begin exercise 2. Remember, it's about trying to do the same work as you would do if these exercises were done separately, rather than trying to rush through them and try and save too much time but end up negatively impacting performance. You may notice some performance decrement in your first week or so of applying supersets, but over time you should adapt. Look for patterns too. If one movement is frequently holding the other one back and is stopping you from progressing in another movement in your superset, then consider breaking these movements up. They're not a good pairing. Similarly, if you are uncontrollably out of breath for a long period of time, you're in a lot of pain after one movement due to swelling, or you've got a really big lactic acid buildup, and then this prevents you from pushing harder in your second exercise, consider uncoupling these exercises too.
So let's wrap this up then. In summary, supersets can save a lot of time without sacrificing gains if appropriate exercises are paired. You need to be reasonably aerobically conditioned. This isn't a high requirement because it's not like you're going running. You'll also adapt to the challenge over time. Experiment with supersets and see which ones work best for you. When you find ones you like, you will never do them separately again. For example, I probably can speak for myself and Sean here. We can't remember the last time either of us did a tricep pull down on its own. There's always something that can be paired with it, as it's such a low effort movement. That wraps up supersets. See you in the next video where we will cover drop sets.